world is hurtling towards a dangerous new normal, the International Monetary Fund chief warns. The world is hurtling towards a new normal, the head of IMF says. Kristina Georgieva, director of IMF, says that the world is facing the risk of a recession, with the global economy experiencing a fundamental shift. Georgieva made the comments during a speech at Georgetown University on Thursday. Sky News reports, in just 3 years, the world has lived through shock after shock after shock, she said. The world has to deal with COVID-19 pandemic, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the climate disasters on all continents, she claimed. She said that such shocks have caused immeasurable harm to people's lives. The combined effect has been a surge in the prices of goods, especially energy and foods, creating a cost of living crisis. The world is seeing a fundamental shift in the global economy, moving away from a world of relative predictability, which had a rules-based framework for international economic cooperation, low inflation and low interest rates, to a world of more fragility, greater uncertainty, geopolitical confrontations, higher economic volatility, and more frequent devastating natural disasters, she said. To prevent this period of heightened fragility from becoming a dangerous new normal, the world must focus on stabilizing the global economy, revitalizing cooperation, and transforming the economy to build resilience against any future shocks, she said. Uncertainty remains extremely high in the context of the pandemic and Russia and Ukraine conflict. Georgieva raised the possibility of even more economic shocks, pointing out that financial stability risks are rising. The IMF head wants policymakers to focus on bringing down inflation and put in place a responsible fiscal policy that protects the financially vulnerable. And she said the deeper causes of the world's fragility can only be addressed by countries working together. In her speech, she pointed out that the International Monetary Fund had projected a strong recovery after a COVID-19 pandemic, with the agency's economists thinking that inflation would quickly subside. She said this is not what happened. Multiple shocks, among them a senseless war, changed the economic picture completely. Far from being transitory, inflation has become more persistent. We have downgraded our growth projections already 3 times to only 3.2% for 2022 and 2.9% for 2023. And as you'll see in our updated World Economic Outlook next week, we will downgrade growth for next year. All of the world's major economies are slowing down, including the United States, China, and Eurozone. This ends up affecting developing and emerging nations as well, since they will be faced with reduced export demand as well as high energy and food prices. Well, I have to tell you, though, that Greece is doing well. The 5% GDP growth for this year has been upgraded to 5.6 now, which is quite good. Now, in the world we're living in today. Now, the IMF believes the risks of recession are rising, with nations accounting for 1/3 of the world economy projected to see at least 2 consecutive quarters of economic declines in 2022 or 2023. The United States has already had 2 consecutive negative quarters this year. Even if there is positive growth, it will feel like a recession due to rising prices and shrinking incomes, she said. The IMF projects roughly $4 trillion in global output loss between now and 2026. Billionaire investor Stanley Druckenmiller had recently warned that the potential economic downturn in the United States could be worse than an average garden variety recession. At an investor summit in late September, Druckenmiller said it would be impossible for the U.S. economy to experience a soft landing, quote unquote. Instead, he's expecting the economy to do a hard landing by the end of 2023 due to the Federal Reserve's aggressive rate hikes in response to rising inflation. He said, "We are in deep trouble." This is by Sean Adelton with Dubai News Punch. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.